My daughter.
For years, I've trained you because I believe you are the one.
Hi, Kate's crew. Welcome to another episode of E-Life with Kate. I know it has been a minute, but we're back for good. My name is Kate Adeogun, and if you've been too busy to keep up with everything happening in entertainment this week, don't worry, I did the homework for you. Now, in case this is your first time coming across my video, this is where I share with you some of my highlights in the world of entertainment from the past week, and maybe something that you missed, right? So it's a little bit of information, entertainment, and a whole lot more. Yes? So let's dig in. Now, from Funke Akindele causing a social media frenzy with just one photo to BTS making a statement that has the entire music industry talking, we have got quite a lot to unpack from the past week. Now, as always, this is not just about the headlines, it's about the context, the business, the culture, and what this moment actually mean. So let's get into it, shall we? Now, let's start with someone who has mastered one thing better than almost anyone else in Nollywood: building anticipation. This week, Funke Akindele posted what looked like a very simple photo on Instagram. She was seated on a director's chair with one word boldly written across the back: director. No caption explaining the new project, no release date, no teaser, nothing. Yet within hours, fans had already begun doing what fans do best. Investigating, right? Now, the comments quickly turned into predictions. Oh, she's cooking something. Another blockbuster is coming. Everybody get ready. And honestly, they may not be wrong, because Funke Akindele is not just another actress anymore. She has built one of the strongest brands in African cinema. Because after projects like Omogeto the Saga, Battle on Bukka Street, A Tribe Called Judah, and the record-breaking Behind the Scenes, audiences have learned that when Funke goes quiet, she's usually cooking, working something out. So she has trained our audience to associate silence with preparation and simple hints with major announcements. So that's a brand equity as far as I'm concerned. And from a marketing perspective, it is fascinating because most productions spend millions trying to generate conversations online. But Funke posted one picture. Just one picture, and the internet did the marketing for her. That's earned media. People literally, voluntarily creating conversations around your brand without you asking them to. Now, does the picture confirm a new movie? No, at least not yet. Everything right now is speculation, but the fact that one image could dominate entertainment conversations tells you everything you need to know about her influence, right? One thing I always say is this: the most powerful celebrities don't always chase attention. Sometimes the attention just follows them. Funke Akindele has spent years consistently delivering commercially successful films, and because of that consistency, fans now expect excellence before she even announces a project. That's a level of trust that very few filmmakers have built. Whether she's teasing a film or simply sharing a moment from set, she's reminded everyone that influence is not always about saying more. Sometimes it is just about saying less. Yes. Now, to one of the biggest international entertainment stories this week, global K-pop superstars BTS have decided that they will not submit their music for Grammy consideration after the Recording Academy introduced a brand new category for Asian pop. Right? Now, this new award category is called Best Asian Pop Music Performance. On paper, that sounds like progress, more recognition, more representation, more opportunities, right? But BTS does not see it that way. The group believes that music should compete based on artistic merit, not to be separated by geography or ethnicity. And their concern is that creating a dedicated Asian pop category could unintentionally limit Asian artists instead of integrating them into the Grammys' biggest categories. It's quite a lot. But in response, Recording Academy CEO Harvey Mason Jr. defended the move. It says the new category was designed to increase visibility, not segregation. According to him, artists can still compete in the general field categories like Record of the Year, Album of the Year, and Song of the Year. So now the entertainment industry is split. Is this inclusion or is it another form of separation? Personally, I think both arguments deserves to be taken quite seriously. Historically, award shows have struggled to properly recognize music outside Western markets. So, creating space for underrepresented genres is not automatically a bad idea. But BTS also raises a valid concern. Recognition should never become a ceiling. Right? If artists are consistently redirected into regional categories while the biggest awards remain dominated by English language music, then representation becomes symbolic rather than transformational. And again, this conversation goes beyond K-pop. We have seen similar debate around Afrobeats as well. Should Afrobeats have its own category? The question on the lips of many, I would say absolutely. But should Burna Boy, Tems, Wizkid, Ira Star, or Rema only be expected to compete there? That's where the conversation becomes more complicated. As African music continues to shape global pop culture, the goal should not simply be creating more boxes or creating another room when we're supposed to join the big table. It should be making sure that artists can compete and win everywhere. And that's why this BTS story is much bigger than one award show. It is really about how the global music industry finds inclusion in 2026. Yes. Now let's talk about what could become one of the biggest moments ever for African storytelling in Hollywood. If you have somehow missed it, Children of Blood and Bone is the film adaptation of the best-selling 2018 novel by a Nigerian-American author, Tomi Adeyemi. Inspired by Yoruba mythology, language, and culture, the story follows a young heroine, Zelie, as she fights to restore magic to the kingdom of Orisha after it was violently erased by a ruthless king, right? And of course, the book became a global publishing phenomenon, spent weeks on bestseller lists, won multiple awards, and sparked conversations about authentic African fantasy long before Hollywood came calling. Now, fast forward to today, and the movie has assembled an incredible cast featuring Viola Davis, Idris Elba, Cynthia Erivo, Damson Idris, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Thuso Mbedu. For Nigerians, there is even more to celebrate because we have Richard Mofe-Damijo, RMD, Ira Star, Pamela Ayodeji, Shams Garuba joining the cast, while Tems is executive producing the soundtrack and Burna Boy is also contributing musically. On paper, this should be one of the biggest celebrations of African storytelling we have ever seen. But behind the scenes, the conversation has been far more complicated. I mean, bringing it to the fore right now even is not necessarily behind the scenes anymore. Long before the trailer dropped, fans questioned whether a story so deeply rooted in Yoruba culture had enough Nigerian representation in its cast. Others also criticized the casting of Amandla Stenberg as Princess Amari, arguing that it did not match the character's darker description in the novel, and reigniting conversations around colorism in Hollywood. Then came perhaps the biggest shock. Tomi Adeyemi herself publicly distanced herself from the adaptation. In emotional social media posts, she revealed that working on the film had been deeply traumatic, describing it as the worst thing she had ever experienced. And she said she left the set hyperventilating and sobbing, has no intention of watching the finished film, and alleged that she experienced prolonged antagonism behind the scenes. While she hasn't disclosed exactly what happened as of right now, her comments have sparked intense debate about creative control and the relationship between authors and Hollywood studios, right? And ironically, this all comes just as director Gina Prince Bythewood has been speaking about how emotional filming was for the cast and crew, describing moments where people were moved to tears while bringing Orisha to life. Now, This story reminds us that making history does not always happen without conflict, right? On one hand, Children of Blood and Bone is a landmark for African representation. Yes, Hollywood is investing blockbuster money into an African fantasy rooted in Yoruba culture instead of treating African stories as side plots or stereotypes, right? That's progress. But on the other hand, it's also a reminder that representation is not just about what audiences see on screen. It's also about who gets heard behind the scenes. When the creator of the world you're adapting publicly says she no longer supports the project, people naturally start asking difficult questions. Can a film still honor its source material if its author feels disconnected from it? We won't know the full answer until the movie is released, right? But personally, I am choosing to separate two conversations. I can be genuinely excited to see African mythology, Nigerian talent, and African music showcased on a global stage, while also acknowledging that Tomi Adeyemi's experience deserves to be taken seriously, right? Both things can be true at the same time. But I would also implore her to speak up, tell us what is going on, what exactly happened, and not just give us vague posts about why she's going to distance herself from the movie when it eventually gets released or whatever. Because if you're adapting a movie, as far as I'm concerned, things will be tweaked. You don't have, the author of the book does not have full control of whatever is going to go on in the movie or whatever is going to happen in the movie. You don't have control over the cast. You don't have control over the crew. Of course, if your contract says otherwise, right? And if you're not clamoring to have full control over the movie, the cast, the crew, whatever, then that means you should probably fund the project or make the movie adaptation of the novel by yourself, or don't say yes to whatever. Because yes, I understand that there might have been some conversations before shooting started, but the director or the studio might decide to tweak or change something. Sometimes adaptation of a novel to a film or a movie does not necessarily mean that it is going to be the same thing, right? But I also think that maybe that's the biggest lesson to learn from this story. Both things can be true at the same time. Representation is not just about getting African stories into Hollywood. It's also about ensuring African creators feel respected throughout the journey. But creators should also not let their emotions take over them, right? Especially when you don't have absolute control over the movie. Yes, you have control over your book, but you don't have total control over the adaptation of your book into a movie. You get the drift? That's what I think. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Now, finally, let's clear up one story that generated plenty of reactions online this week. Many people saw the headline that Oprah Winfrey is closing her leadership academy for girls in South Africa and immediately assumed that the school had failed. That's not actually what's happening. Oprah announced that the academy will officially close after the 2027 academic year, nearly 2 decades after opening its doors in 2007. The school was founded to provide high-quality education and leadership opportunities for academically gifted girls from disadvantaged backgrounds. Over the years, it has produced more than 1,000 graduates, many of whom have gone on to universities around the world and careers in medicine, law, engineering, public service, and business. So why close it, right? According to Oprah, the mission is evolving. Rather than operating one physical campus, she wants to redirect resources into an expanded scholarship program that can support many more girls across South Africa. Right. The Gauteng Department of Education will continue managing the school in line with the original agreement, while students still enrolled will either graduate there or have their education fully funded at other top-tier schools, really. So in Oprah's words, the dream was never simply to build a school. It was to invest in the limitless potential of young women. Yes. And I think that this story is a reminder that impact should not always be measured by whether an institution stays open forever. Sometimes success means creating something that can stand on its own before moving your resources somewhere they can reach even more people. And I think that is what Oprah is trying to do here. Could the communication have been clearer? Maybe. because social media headlines made it sound like the academy was shutting down because something had gone wrong or whatnot. But once you read the full announcement, you realize that this is less about ending a project and more about expanding its reach. So whether that scholarship model eventually helps more girls than a single school code, that remains to be seen. Fingers crossed on that one. But after nearly 20 years of investing in young women and producing over 1,000 graduates, I think it is fair to say the Academy has already made a lasting contribution. Yes, there are some controversies, but sometimes a legacy is not measured by how long a building stands. It is measured by the lives that walk out of it, right? So that's a wrap on this week's edition of A Life with Kate. Now, I want to hear from you. Do you think BTS made the right decision by pulling out of the Grammys? Are you excited about the Children of Blood and Bone movie? And what do you think Funke Akindele was teasing with the director's chair? Let me know in the comments. I always enjoy reading your perspectives. If you enjoyed this episode and you watched it till the end, but don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow me across my social media platforms for more entertainment stories with context and not just headlines. My name is Kate Adeogun. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week with another edition of E Life with Kate. Bye, Kate's crew.